So it seems that Team Season, which is the team behind the revival of the lost Season 3 of Sonic SatAM, is getting a lot more attention than they expected. And it's the kind of attention that they've been hoping for, and I think a lot of us were hoping for. Now we know they've gotten attention, positive attention from the places like Screen Rant and even recently IGN. But one article recently came out from a more major source that really I think is going to help in the long run, and that's MSN. Now, in case you guys don't know what MSN is, MSN basically is kind of short for Microsoft News, or in some cases is also short for being connected to NBC, in a way. Now, we're not talking MSNBC, but they do have an extension from what I understand. They're basically connected to both Microsoft and NBC, sort of a partnership from what I can gather. Maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me on that. But MSN is one of the major news outlets on the internet to basically feel like you're reading the actual news that gets reported on, on television or on, the internet like YouTube. They're kind of like, as I just mentioned, like the MSNBC, the CNN, the Fox News of the interwebs, if you will, more so than Yahoo News and stuff. Well, recently they became, as I mentioned, the latest place to put an article out on Team Season's work, on what they're trying to do. And this was an article they put out about a day or two ago, a couple of days ago, actually, not that long. Actually, yeah, about a couple of days ago, about 2 days ago, they put this article out, and it was entitled "Sonic Fans Are Trying to Revive Sonic SatAM." Yeah, they did call it Sonic SatAM. And I don't know who this was by. This was by Joshua Robinson. Yeah, Joshua Robinson. He did this on the 5th, on Sunday, at this was posted at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So about, I would assume, 10 a.m. Eastern, where I think the offices are located. 9 Central, 8 Mountain. You get the picture. But anyway, Joshua Robinson, at their, I guess you could say, their gaming section for like gamers and entertainment and all that, posted this article. And he said, and I quote, "Sonic fans growing up in the 90s will probably have experienced the heartache of the original Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, nicknamed Sonic SatAM by the community, getting cancelled in 1994, despite the ending of the second season clearly teasing a third season in the wings. Well, the planned third season never made it to air, but that hasn't stopped one dedicated group of Sonic fans from trying to revive the show almost 30 years later." In an interview with IGN, Team Season member Megan Rick and Team Season members Megan Rick and Keith Waswell spoke about the work to bring Sonic SatAM and finish off the season canceled, or finish off the cartoon's canceled third season. Let's see. It also says something else. I didn't get all of it. Let's see. It says this team is currently made up of different writers, artists, and animators, along with the help of, again, I didn't get it all basically because of the, when you print something like this out, it's not easy to print out. So I'm going to try to look up the article here for a second. Hold on, guys. Hold on for 1 second while I look it up. So, like I said, hold on for 1 second while I look it up. Here it is. Let me just pull this up here. It's it. Okay, so this is where okay, here's where I left off. Here's where I left off. It says the team currently is made up of different artists, animators. Okay, the team It's currently made up of different artists and animators using the plans of Ben Hurst, a previous writer and story editor that worked on Sonic SatAM that sadly passed away in 2010 to complete the season. And continuing on here, I got most of it right here because it's not that big of an article, but it's pretty good. It's a pretty decent one. And it says, and while it may be easy to write off as another Sonic fan project, there's some pretty serious talent behind what is looking like a very ambitious project. Executive producer of Sonic SatAM second season, Ron Merrick, is also on board, as is Crush 40, a band that has composed original music for a variety of Sonic projects, I should say, in the past. And I think, no, that's not it. I thought I printed more. Did I? Oh yeah, I did. I did print more. I just want to make sure I get it all. Okay. Alright. So, finishing it off here, it says, Roswell also reveals there's around 50 people that have lent their talents to the project, including everything from voice work to animation. Team Season does make it pretty clear that Sonic SatAM's revival is currently very early in production, but hopes to attract enough attention to partner with an established animation studio and hopefully get the project put on some kind of streaming service. Even though Sonic fans will have to wait a while for this, they won't have to wait too long to get their hands on Sonic Frontiers, which is still scheduled to launch at some point this year. There's some good news though, as a recent trailer gave us a pretty in-depth look at the game, including the open zone that players can explore, as well as some baddies Sonic will have to overcome. So yeah, basically getting that kind of an article from MSN, again, like I said, which is one of the leading news sites out there, kind of on the, same level internet-wise as, let's say, a CNN, a Fox News, an MSNBC, CBS News, ABC News, stuff like that. For them to get an article like that, even through the gaming section and division from MSN, for Team Season to get that kind of an article, I think is amazing. I really do. Because, it shows the fact that, the fan base is still strong for this portion of the Sonic franchise. And the fan base that grew up in the 90s, with the show, that grew up in the 80s, that grew up in the 90s with the show, and the comics and stuff, they see, that are part of this, from a fan funding perspective to a, behind the scenes perspective, they see the potential that, Sonic SatAM has. They've seen it for a long time. I've seen it for a long time. You have an abundance of characters that you could do a lot more with than just your established video game characters, your core video game characters. And also the fact that I think nowadays, and this is why I also believe we're getting all these articles, picking up the news about this happening now with very positive, vibes to these articles, to these reports, is because lately one of the more popular trends in entertainment, no matter what medium, if you will, or genre, is multiverse. Or multiverses, I should say. And let's not forget, Sonic Prime coming to Netflix, that's one of its main focus to drive its story plot. And obviously looking at that as being a popular trend, they're probably thinking, you know what, this is just another version of Sonic that probably takes place in an alternate universe. And that's why I think a lot of people get behind it, because they could see that, yes, it is Sonic. It's still the same character. You're going to have Tails in it. You're going to have, like I said, you're going to have Tails in it. You're going to have Knuckles, obviously, down the line. But, to see the dedication, again, that, that Team Season has to make this happen. And with the end goal in mind, ladies and gentlemen. With the end goal in mind, to try to attract a more major animation studio to help them really take off and put this into the atmosphere, as well as a streaming service to really get it out there for people to see. not only is that ambitious and everything, but as I said before, it is a positive, it is a positive goal, and I think a very attainable goal. Because when you look at how far they've gone, and you again, like I say, you see all these articles from IGN, Screen Rant, and now MSN, coming out and doing these positive articles talking about who's behind the scenes working on this besides just a dedicated fan base. The fact that they're going out and they're finding out all this information, you know, of what the intended goal is in the long run. That's saying a lot. That is saying a lot, and that right there, by saying a lot, gives positive feedback to potential animation studios, to potential streaming services, and more importantly, to Sega themselves to realize, hey, maybe there is an outlet for these characters from that show, from that comic that we didn't see before. And I'm hoping that once it does reach Sega's ears, and I'm pretty sure it has by now, especially with this MSN article. I'm hoping when it reaches Sega's ears that they basically come out and say, okay, we'll bring this back, we'll get behind it, and we'll help you find a studio, we'll help you find a streaming service to make this happen. Now, the primary focus right now, obviously, as far as Sonic goes from an animation perspective, is Sonic Prime on Netflix. And I think this is what's going to happen. That if Sonic Prime does good on Netflix, which I have no doubt it will, especially with its multiverse concept for a story plot, that if it does good, I have no doubt in my mind, Sega, with all the attention Season's getting with what they're doing, is going to get in contact with Wild Brain Studios again. Say, hey, we got another Sonic project to work, to have you help work on and bring to life. In fact, it's a revival that you may have heard is happening right now. They may get in contact with them, depending on how Sonic Prime does, as well as get in contact with Netflix and say, hey, we got another Sonic show heading your way, but this time it's a continuation of the original 1990s cartoon. So I think in the long run, it's all going to be dependent on, the success of Sonic Prime. Now, even if Sonic Prime doesn't do so well, but does decent enough, Sega might still consider, okay, we can put this somewhere, but we're not going to put it on Netflix, and we're not going to have Wild Brain, do the work or help bring it to life. We'll get somebody else. And for all we know, they can get in contact with Powerhouse Animation. Yeah. They can get in contact with Powerhouse Animation, who has done phenomenal animation in the past. Speaking of Netflix, the animation that they're known for doing when it comes to Netflix shows, Castlevania, and even the controversial Masters Universe Revelation. The animation is top tier when it comes to those shows. It's one of the positive things people talk about. So if they could get, Sega, could get the attention, or if Season potentially could get the attention of someone like Powerhouse Animation outside of someone like Wild Brain, which is another possible outlet they could reach out to as an animation studio to help them make this a reality. If they can get Powerhouse Animation, holy crap. Imagine what they'll be able to do, with the Sonic property in their hands, especially if it's a revival. I mean, basically, if they got Powerhouse Animation to get behind this, it's basically this, and get presented with the idea that, hey, this is just basically the same kind of concept, that you had with Revelation with Masters Universe, a similar but different concept. The possibilities are endless. They really are. But again, it's all up to Sega, to want to get behind this. And I have no doubt with all the positive feedback that this is getting, sooner or later, and now especially with MSN, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to get behind this. They're going to want to have a part of this. They want to give it a chance. The only question is when and where they make that happen. But they're not the only one. But MSN, I should say, is not the only ones that came out with a positive article. They're not. Another one that came out with a positive article is Club Sega, which is a German Sega website on Facebook. And the Club Sega here in America, or in English, translated what they said recently on June 4th. This is what they said on June 4th at 8:32 a.m. Pacific time, and I quote. This is another article, again from Club Sega. This is what they said about it, and I quote. Anyone who knows the 1993 Sonic the Hedgehog series, also known as Sonic SatAM in fan circles, and the comic called Season, put online by fans, surely already knows that a group of fans have been working on filming the online comics into a series. You gotta apologize the English translation here. Season stands for the continuation of the series of Sonic SatAM as the third season, which would have originally been released officially at the time had the series not been discontinued at that time, which is 94-95. As you can certainly hear, the fans have managed to include Johnny Golan, the singer of Crash 40 himself, and Chewie as part of the main soundtrack in the project. How cool is this, please? They covered the soundtrack to the series Fastest Thing Alive series theme song, Fastest Thing Alive, originally from the Noisy Neighbors. It's really nice to see how much dedication and fan service goes into this project. The online comic fan project has been around since 2009. The project turned the online comics into a series is made mainly possible by donations on Patreon. And then, of course, they link the latest trailer. And, of course, you know, they have the trailer right there and everything. So, yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Again, and for Season to get a lot of this attention. They're probably going to get more attention, you know, as time goes on. And again, this is the article from MSN that, you know, was printed as well, which again, outside of IGN, is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal to get that kind of attention, you know, on their project. But, you know, what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is a positive step in the right direction, or just another positive step in the right